Hi guys, my name is Scott Noy, and just kind of want to throw this video together for you guys that's wanting to get tuned or get your car calibrated. Just wanted to throw this together as a calibrator and an engine builder. There's a lot of things that goes on that's kind of unnecessary, costs you a bunch of money, us a bunch of time, different things like that. So I just thought I'd throw this thing together. The video quality is not going to be great. This is $80 El Cheapo camera, doing this in my basement, but just kind of wanted to go over some things, got some notes. Obviously won't be able to cover everything because I'm sure I'll forget because I'm old and senile, but a couple of things that I wanted to go through with you. First thing I want to tell you is on this video I am going to come across as the biggest a-hole in the world. I don't mean to, but I just need to get this. I need you guys to understand the importance of having your car ready before you ever get it tuned. And I get so much stuff that's not ready, and I come across, if you text me sometimes, if you call me sometimes, I'm a negative Nancy because I've just run into so much crap. I've been doing this. I've been tuning cars since 2001. Started out with AutoLogic and then went to SCT and then Diablo. Used SCT and quarter horse is what I use most of now. And so I've just seen it all. Owned the Performance Mustang only performance shop for 13 years. I did it out of my basement 10 before that. I've drag raced old Mopars for about 13 to 15 years. So I've been around and I've seen a lot of crap and just done a lot of crap. Like I say, I build engines. I average about 10 engines a year. God only knows how many I tune. But just kind of want to throw this together so you guys would know what to expect and what to have done before you get here. So like I say, I'm going to look at my notes, but number one, I'm going to come off as a jack wagon. And if you meet me in person, I'll be the nicest guy you've ever met. But if you call me, text me, or this video, you're going to say, that guy's a jack wagon. I don't know about him. I'm just trying to reiterate how important these things are. Okay, that's the first thing. And so the second thing that I want to stress to you, call the guy that's going to tune your calibration or your combination first. Don't build an engine or go buy a bunch of parts because the internet says, oh, this is what you need or that's what you need. Call the guy that's got to tune the crap. If you, just because the internet says it's great, well, in their area they may have a tuner that's all he wants to use, and for them it is great. You go somewhere else, that guy's never seen that part before, never tuned that part. Call the guy that's going to tune it before you ever buy the first part, before you buy a camshaft, before you buy heads, and especially before you buy injectors or a mass air. Call the guy that's going to tune it. If you buy a bunch of junk, you're going to be doing it twice. And that's the number one thing I run into. Guys, they'll build a combination, and I'm the last guy in line that they call. I should be the first guy you call. If you go out and buy a bunch of junk and then expect me to tune it, all bets are off. Not the best tuner in the world can't make a bunch of junk run right. So call the programmer, the calibrator first. Then if he's not an engine builder, I'm kind of a rare combination that I build engines and I tune them. Most will do one but not the other. Get those two guys involved. Those two guys need to communicate with each other. If your programmer or your engine builder's got the personality of a brick wall, maybe you need to go somewhere else because he's going to have to calibrate what this engine builder builds. The engine builder's going to have to build something that this guy can tune. You put an 800 lift race cam in something with and expect to make a daily driver out of it, the best tuner in the world ain't going to be able to do it. So, you're not going to be able to do that. Those guys have got to communicate. You've got to communicate exactly what you want. Is it a street car? Is it street and strip? Is it race only? Be truthful and be realistic. Most guys want something that's going to run sixes through the quarter mile, get 30 miles to a gallon, and drive it every friggin' day. It ain't happening. It ain't happening. So you need to find out what you want, what you truly want. Get with the engine builder, get with the calibrator, and then everybody communicate on your build. If you just listen to one guy or this guy, or if you've got a car that's been to 1,400 shops, don't call me to tune it. Because 9 chances out of 10, it's a god-awful mess. And I just ran into that last week. You'll hear me tell some horror stories. If your car was one of them, I apologize, but hey, maybe somebody can learn from your screw-ups. All right, but the calibrator needs to be the first guy you call before you ever buy a part. Ever. Don't buy nothing until you talk to him and the engine builder. Those guys start communicating, and then you build your combination. You don't build something and then go hunt somebody to tune that junk. No, don't do it. So call your tuner first. My favorite saying is a computer calibration or a tune cannot fix a mechanical problem. Cannot do it. And everybody thinks it is. They think if their car is missing, the car's running like crap. Guys, a tune ain't going to fix that if it's a mechanical issue. Now, if you've got 80-pound injectors and a mass hour that's not calibrated and you throw it on there and the car runs like junk, then yeah, a calibrator might can fix, you know, once he calibrates, the car may run great. But if you got check engine lights on and the friggin' thing's still got stock injectors and a stock mass hour, that tuner can't wave a magic wand and fix it. If there's a mechanical issue, a tune ain't going to fix it, period, end of story. Get that through your head. A tune will not fix a mechanical issue. Fox body guys, 94, 95 guys, I'm fixing to hurt your feelings. They suck. I love them. That's what I've got. It's an 87 Fox body. They have mechanical issues out the wazoo. Those cars are 30-some years old now. And one of the biggest issues I run into when I get one, I know going in, and if you talk to me on the phone, I'm going to tell you the same thing here as I do on the phone. Get ready. I will spend anywhere from 3 to 6 hours fixing mechanical issues on your car before it ever gets ready to tune. I can back that up. The last 11 Fox bodies or SN95 pushrod motors that I've done, out of the last 11, all 11 had at least one sensor that was dead, and the owner didn't even know it. All 11. I put 6 throttle bodies on those vehicles because they weren't good. I'm not going to call out any companies, but if your throttle body, or your mass hour for that matter, has got 3 letters in the name, it's junk. I'm telling you now, it's junk. Get it off there. If you call me, and one of the first things I'm going to ask you is what throttle body's on it, and if you say, bye, I'm going to say, don't even bring it to me until you get a good throttle body. You call me, I'm not going to put this on the video, but if you want to know what throttle body, what mass hour, and all that to get, you call me, you text me, and I'll tell you what to get. But if it's got 3 letters in the name, and there's several companies like that, not just one, if it's got 3 letters in it, it's junk. It's just junk. It's just the way it is. They've been junk. Some of them been junk since the 90s. They whistle like a freight train when you start them up. 3 of those cars sound like the steam train over at Dollywood when you fired them up and the guys didn't even know anything was wrong. Well, I heard that. I didn't know what it was. Guys, if you're hearing a whistle, you've either got a vacuum leak or you got a throttle body that's junk. Don't buy it. Call us. Call your calibrator. Call the guy that's going to tune it. He'll tell you what to get. He'll tell you what he can calibrate, what's going to run good, and all of that. Especially if he does like I do and he's building the engine and he's tuning it, you've got a pretty good source of information there. But, make sure that you don't have a bunch of junk on your car. But Fox bodies and the pushrod motors are just awful. They're awful. The wiring's junk. The wiring's 30 years old, guys. Do you not think that resistance has built up in those wires over 30 years? I think every Fox body out there ought to have a brand new wiring harness on it. Just me, because it's hacked to death. Stock motors, and somebody's been in there hacking on the wiring. I don't know. I don't get it, but they are notorious for that. Of the cars that I tuned, of the last 11, I think at least 4 of them had at least 2 sensors that was dead. Owners didn't even know it. Some of them been driving them for months. Didn't know they had 2 sensors completely dead until I started tuning them and said, hey, you got this wrong, that wrong, that wrong. So make sure that your car, that leads me to the next point, make sure that your car is in good mechanical condition. I went to the dynos and the guys show up with cords showing in the rear tires and we got to load them on the dyno. Guys, we can't dyno nothing like that. Friggin' tire blows, it's going to take the friggin' fender off, not to mention it's going to jerk it plumb off the dyno. Common sense, you got to use your head. I had a guy show up at my shop one time, not to get long-winded, carbureted push rod SN95 with a turbo. Brought it 2.5 hours out of North Carolina to my shop for me to tune it. I was very busy that day. We just pushed it off the trailer. He had told me, hey, it's not running. I want you to get it running. Pushed it off the trailer, shoved it in my shop. He said, I just want a good street tune to where it drives good and all that, and tune the carburetor. No problem. So then he tells me that he doesn't have a battery on the car. No gas is in the car. And he came 2.5 hours from North Carolina, and I asked him, I said, how many service stations did you pass coming over here? How many parts stores did you pass coming over here? Well, I just figured you could get it. Yeah, I can get it, but I'm going to charge you. At that time, I was charging $65 an hour. And I'm charging you to go get gas, something that you should have done before you got there. Stupid. Don't be stupid. So I got ready to start working on this thing. Went and ordered a battery, went and got gas. Popped the hood on it, no fan. No fan. How am I supposed to street drive a car with no fan, no tags, no insurance, and yes, he wanted a good street tune. I won't tell you what I told the guy. I got it running and told him to come and get it. I wasn't tuning squat, and I didn't. And so just stupidity. Use common sense. Here's a rule of thumb. If your car is not mechanically ready to jump in and go 2.5, 3 hours down the road non-stop, it ain't ready for me. It is not ready for your tuner. Now, if you've got everything ready, maybe it's a fresh engine, never been fired, you know, I can kind of see it. You know, you're not really sure if you're going to have a water leak once the engine starts, or an oil leak or anything like that. Hey, I get that. But when you bring a car 2.5 hours and you've not even got an engine fan, a battery, or gas in it, little stuff. Do the door handles work? Do the windows work? You say, well, how? Why is that important on tuning? Guys, when I had my shop, a lot of cars would have to sit outside. Well, we got snow today in East Tennessee. How am I supposed to push your car out of the freaking way if the freaking window won't roll up? And it's got to get out of the way because I got to make money. How am I supposed to get in it if we're at the dyno? Am I supposed to crawl through the window like Dukes of Hazzard to get in your friggin' car because you're too cheap to buy a $100 set of door handles? That's stupid, guys. It's all got to work. Fox Body guys, SN95 guys, this is for you. If your cigarette lighter does not work in that car, don't bring it to me till it does. I cannot hook my wideband up. I can hook my wideband up to it, but it's just stupid. It's going to cost you an extra 30 minutes labor for me to hook a wideband up when I could just plug it into the cigarette lighter and make it work. Make sure it's plugged in. Make sure the cigarette lighter works in those things. That's aggravating as crap to get a car here and have to spend 30 minutes wiring up my wideband simply because you won't fix the friggin' cigarette lighter. Fix it. Fix the door handles. Oil leaks. Nothing is worse getting on a dyno and start to make pulls and it's blowing friggin' oil out of it like a diesel about to explode. The dyno guys do not like it, and yes, they will charge you extra for it, and yes, they should. Because they're going to have to clean up their nice clean floor. They clean it up, get it clean for you, and then you come in there and make a god-awful mess with it. PVC systems, make sure they're working correctly. Make sure that everything is mechanically as best you can get it. I don't know how many times we've been in there, radiators loose. Friggin' bolts wasn't even tight. Make sure the crap is tight, okay? Make sure the bolts are tight. Make sure the lug nuts are tight, for God's sake. You know, drive shaft bolts, all of that. Air, tires that'll actually hold air. We've had them come to the dyno with flats. Well, that tire goes down. Get the freaking thing fixed. What are you going to do? You wind that thing up and you're running 150 miles an hour tire speed, wheel speed on the dyno with a tire that won't hold air. That's stupid. You're fixing to get somebody hurt. Fix it. Fix the mechanical stuff before you call a calibrator and say, hey, it's time. Call him when you're getting your combination, but stuff like that is just common sense. If it can't go down the road for 2.5 to 3 hours, constant running, without problems, maybe you're not ready. Now again, new combinations, that's a whole different story. New engines, whole different story. Drag cars, again, different story. But most of what I tune is good, we'll say 400 to 700 rear wheel street cars. Most of them are running when they slap a supercharger or nitrous or some of that stuff on it. Most of the time, if that thing is not ready. You know what's not ready. Get it ready. Cannot have vacuum leaks, guys. No vacuum leaks. Okay? Safety. Goes back to the tires. You got to have tires on it. Hose clamps. Make sure the hose clamps are tight. For Pete's sake. I don't know how many times we've been to the dyno. I had a car brought to me. Push it off the trailer and freaking hose clamp on the radiator hose. You thought, oh, I forgot to tighten that up. How am I checking this crap? You're not ready for a tune. You need to go over that car from the front bumper to the back bumper if you can't even tighten that radiator hose. You know what I'm saying? So do those kind of things. You don't want to pay me to do it. You don't want to pay me or somebody at a shop to do it, Make sure your fuel filter is fresh. If that car's been sitting for 3 years while you've been going through a build, it's time to put a fuel filter on it. And if those injectors been sitting that long, it's time to send them off and have them cleaned. Because I guarantee you they're dirty. They may work, but they're not spraying properly. I almost guarantee it. When you come to the dyno or go to a calibrator, fresh gas. Fresh gas. We can't tune one with gas that's 5 or 6 years old. Okay? Guys, again, I told you. I'm coming off like a jack wagon. I know that. I know that. You meet me in person, I'll be the nicest guy you've ever met. That's guaranteed. But for right now, you need a talking to, and that's the purpose of this video. To let you know the crap we got to put up with, and it costs you money. If I'm sitting around and I work on your car, a shop works on your car for 3 hours before they even start to tune, they're going to charge you for it. So that $300 or whatever they're charging you to tune it probably just went up to $550. And 9 chances out of 10, all you brought with you is $300. I've been down that road many times. Had guys show up to the dyno, not even have any cash with them. No credit card with them. How you going to pay your freaking bill? I know that sounds stupid. Guys, we've had it happen I don't know how many times. You tell a guy, hey, it costs you X amount of dollars for a dyno tune, X amount of dollars for the dyno if we don't have mechanical problems. Well, they get there at 9 o'clock and it's 2:30 or 3 o'clock before you make the first pull because you've been fixing crap that whole time. That dyno guy and that calibrator is charging you money. And it's crap that you should have fixed before it ever came up there. It's almost never nothing that happens after we get started. It's stuff that the owner knew before he ever brought the friggin' car, and he brought it anyway. Stupido. Stupid. Use your brain. Okay. Tags and license. If you're going to bring your car to a calibrator and he's going to have to street tune it, guess what? It's got to be drove on the street. So it needs tags and it needs driver's license. Again, good tires. All of that stuff. Seat belts at work. We're not even going there. Got to have that stuff, guys. 2.5, 3 hours down the road. If you ain't ready, don't bring it. If you ain't ready, don't bring it. Now I'm going to kind of get into your combinations a little bit. We've done talked about throttle bodies. Mass airs. Now this goes for everybody. Again, this is not just Mustang stuff. This is for everybody. The 2 most critical things that a calibrator has to have good information on is injectors and mass airs. Everybody thinks, well, I bought a set of 80-pound injectors. That don't tell me squat. All that tells me is the rated pressure at usually 43.5 psi on Fords, about 59 on LS stuff. That's all that tells me. That doesn't tell me anything that I need to know as a calibrator to program those 80s. Every manufacturer's injector is different. It don't matter if they got 80 pound or not. Ford makes two, Ford Racing makes two different sets of 60s. You put the wrong information in there and the freaking car won't half run. Well, they're 60 pound injectors. That don't mean squat. I've got to know who made them, and they've got to get me the right information. If I ain't got good information, that car ain't never running right. Period, end of story. So even if you don't call your calibrator before you start to build that engine, you better call him before you buy mass air injectors, or you're probably buying them twice. Call the guy. Say, hey, what do you need from me? Don't go out and buy crap and say, here, tune this pile of junk. No, it ain't going to happen. At least not with me, it ain't going to happen. I'm tired I used to waste time and waste hours trying to tune that junk. No more. If you ain't got good parts on it, I'm going to send you down the road. You can find somebody else. Just the way it is. Make sure it's got a battery and stuff like that. Good combinations. Again, this is where you need to contact the calibrator, get him with your engine builder, and say, okay, what have you seen? What makes power? Your engine builder, if he doesn't have an engine dyno, he don't know what makes power. He might have drag car combination. But if he gets in a street car, oh, it was fast. Well, in some people's mind, a bone stock Fox body's fast. I've got a bone stock Fox body. If it made 200 rear wheel, this old man would attempt to make a cartwheel. I'd probably throw my back out and be in traction for the next 6 months, but I would attempt it. To some people, that freaking car will fly. You put heads, cam, and intake on a 347 and it won't outrun my stock Fox body. It run 1340s at Bristol. Something ain't right. And I've had it happen. Bad combinations. Calibrator, engine builder need to be communicating. If they don't have good people skills, move on. Now, I know, people's going to say, well, what about Grumpy Jenkins or Bob Gledden back in the day? Some of y'all don't even know who they are, but had the personality of a tree stump. They were the best engine builders probably some of this world's ever seen. I get that. But they got to be able to communicate with the guys calibrating. Times have changed. Carburetors ain't around no more, folks. Ain't around no more. So I'm going to make sure my camera's still on here. And hopefully it is. Last couple of things is a lot of you guys are going out and buying cars. Okay, buying them already built. And there's something to be said for that. There really is. There's also a lot of gotchas. A lot of gotchas. All right, number one, most guys when they buy a car don't know anything about it. There's no paper trail. If you ain't got paperwork with a car, move on. Don't buy a car that ain't got paperwork with what's in it. Can you see the pistons in it? No. Do you know if it's a stroker kit in it? No. Now, some people's going to say, well, they could lie about the paperwork. Yeah, but most people, if they're so lazy they won't give you any paperwork, then most guys are way too lazy to print something off. Just saying. Just saying. If you don't know anything about that combination, move on. Move on. Before you buy it, if you're going to have it tuned by somebody other than maybe who they've had it tuned, you need to call that guy. So, hey, I'm looking at this car here. This is what I'm told it's got. Blah, 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 blah. What do you need to know to tune it? Calibrator's going to say, okay, whose 60-pound or 80-pound injectors are they? What mass area is it? What size is it? How old is it? What's the compression on the engine? 95% of the guys out there right now has no freaking clue what the compression of their engine is. Guys, that is absolutely critical, especially if you've got a power adder. You start tuning a car that you think has 9-to-1 compression and 15 pound of boost, and you get it on the dyno and that thing's about 10.5 to 11-to-1 on 17 pound of boost, we got a problem. You fixing to put